Tonight I want to tell you about how uncomfortable I feel right now. I'm serious. It happens every single time that I stand up here. It's always been the same way. Ever since I started Toastmasters. I think out of all the times that I've ever spoken in my entire life, right now at this very moment is when I feel the most uncomfortable. You're laughing. But it's the truth. And the reality of it is that this goes in line with something that I think is perhaps one of my life mottos. And I want to tell you about that tonight. I like to call it getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Looking in hindsight, I think that this may actually be something that I've implemented into my life. Let me explain to you why. I started speaking here in Toastmasters shortly before I started my career with the Federal Reserve. And I remember at that point in time, I was doing a ton of reading. I still read, but at that time, I was reading for a different purpose. I was reading, ladies and gentlemen, because I was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. And as I was reading, I came across an idea. And this idea is from a psychologist by the name of Meg Jay. And she has this idea that is called identity capital. Now, identity capital, ladies and gentlemen, is defined as a collection of personal assets. These are resources that are individual and personal to ourselves that we acquire over time by either doing something long enough or well enough. And they become a part of who we are. And this idea never left my mind. I was mind blown by the idea. When I started working, I remember how foreign a lot of things were to me. Like many of the new things that we do in life. They're foreign, they're new. And I remember how uncomfortable I felt. Fellow Toastmasters, I remember sitting in lunch conversations and having very political conversations, which go very well in line with what we're speaking about today. I remember going out, traveling to new places. I remember how uncomfortable I felt, those feelings inside of me. Looking back to it, I can compare that to how I felt when I was up here and how I feel today. I felt uncomfortable. Now, the uncomfortable that I felt is not what you're thinking. It's not the uncomfortable that you would feel if you were pants down in front of 200 people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the type of uncomfortable that you know is going to make you better. I'm talking about the type of uncomfortable that you know is going to make you grow. This is the kind of uncomfortable that you know that if you can just push past it, you know you're going to be a better person. And I started to think about why I was feeling this way, and why everything new in my life made me feel this way. So I did some more reading, and I came across another idea. And this idea is by a psychologist by the name of Daniel Kahneman. Have any of you heard of him before? David is privileged to have heard of him. Daniel Kahneman has this idea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Nobel Prize winning individual. And he won his Nobel Prize for this simple idea. He says that when we are thinking about making decisions in life, when we are going to make that next step, our mind engages in either a system 1 or a system 2 position. It's very easy. Essentially that means, if Eric was to ask me what is 2 plus 2 right now, I would say 4. That's a system 1. That's intuitive. I knew that from the gut. I know exactly what 2 plus 2 is. These are social decisions, decisions that you engage in every single day of your life. They're just a part of who you are. But then, fellow Toastmasters, there's a system 2. And this is where it gets really tricky. And system 2 are those decisions that require focus. They require concentration. And they require deliberate thinking. These are complex ideas. We have any math majors in the room? It's like a complex math problem. That's your system 2. The whole concept is that if you do something long enough, eventually, if it's a system 2 problem, it'll become a nature of habit, and it'll transfer over to your system 1. I thought that was mind-blowing. And then it clicked. Everything that I was feeling at work, everything that I was feeling up here, was a system 2 problem. Difficult at first, but easier through practice. You want to know a fun fact? Part of the science behind why public speaking is so difficult is because public speaking is a system 2 problem. When we're up here, we're engaging in a deliberate time of thinking. We are trying to conceptualize what it is that we're going to say next. We're trying to use our body posture and trying to communicate with individuals while speaking in front of a group of people. That's a system 2 problem. And something very funny began to happen. Little by little, all of my system 2 problems turned into system 1s. And it was just like that. The more that I was exposed to uncomfortable opportunities and experiences, that I applied good judgment and good work, the more that I build my identity capital. Do you remember that? The identity capital, my personal resources. The more that I engaged in uncomfortable opportunities and worked at them, the better the outcome. Looking back at it, this applies to many parts of our lives. I can think of so many ways that this can impact yourself, and yourself over there. And just think about that. The truth is, we don't build when we're comfortable. As a matter of fact, I would argue that when you are in your comfort zone, you actually grow very little. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here today, one, to tell you how uncomfortable I am. But I'm also here to share this message with you because I think that it's important. I know there's going to be a lot of bumps along the way. And I know that we're all going to have these times when we just hit a wall. But I think that if we begin to identify our experiences and realize how we feel in those experiences, and whether we feel comfortable or not, or if we're just living in our comfort zone, I truly think that this is something that we can work on. And I truly think that it is something that we can help us. That little exercise at the beginning of this meeting, that is my gift to you. That was one way, you just did it today, of making yourself feel, well, for the introverts, somewhat uncomfortable. You met somebody new, and that's great. So this is my call to action to you. My call to action to you is that from now on, moving forward, every time that you engage in somewhat of a difficult problem, realize it and be mindful of it. Come to terms with what you're facing and come to terms of how you're feeling. If you identify it as a system 2 problem, something that is really making you feel uncomfortable, odds are, for the most part, it's probably going to make you stronger. And I think that if you're able to combine hard work, uncomfortable experiences, and a strong mind, you too can get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Eric?